Hi everyone, welcome. Welcome to FESIG's 17th meeting. Now this is not at the Trust, this is hosted by, the physical venue is hosted by David Pufferman. I am actually at David Pufferman's home. I took the train and came to South London, and so here we are. Hi David, do you want to say a warm welcome to all of us in FESIG?
Yes, welcome to West Dulwich, and
come here, it's pretty.
And you in the meeting, and I hope you all enjoy it.
Thank you. So we have started now the meeting at 5:37 p.m. GMT time because we were waiting for the others to turn up. The quorum waited long enough. So here we are. And we are going to move on to the agenda. Okay, now let me see. I can't move. Oops. Okay. So okay, now I don't have to do any introduction to FESIG. Everybody here knows what FESIG's about, and those who don't, they can refer to the older meetings where it's explained our objectives and what we want to achieve here. Okay. So the meeting agenda today is a quick presentation for the new members. We don't have new members today, so we dive headlong into the meeting report of FESIG activities and development. The last meeting was fantastic. It's amazing because we had Jackie Shaws with us, and hopefully he will be able to pop in later as well. And Mike Nashiv is on holidays, on his travels. I was just chatting with him earlier, and he might not be able to get an internet line going, so he won't be able to hop in. But hopefully he might be able to, you never know, okay? And we have today, I have revamped the FESIG site page, and you'll be able to see that we have nominated council members. We have James Wing, Peter, Asif Daniel, David Alistair Baines, although I'm not able to catch him, he's possibly on his summer holidays. And then we have the director of the Trust, FESIG's Home, Julie Fawcett, and David Pufferman, Mike Nashiv, Fres Frizzle, PK Flemis, and Yosung. So all of us are actually there in place in the Executive Council lineup. And then I think that's about it for the agenda. And we adjourn to the teachers. Hopefully they'll turn up, and then we'll adjourn to the next meeting on the 7th of September. Okay, 2016. So there you go. We are going on. Okay, that's it. I'm going to stop sharing now. Many apologies on the noise because David has got his lodger who just came out from his door and ran away. Okay, so there you go. We are going to start then with David, who's got the first question for Stefan.
Yeah, just to enlighten us, Stefan, on how testing the device with an inverter and a benchmark, and you say it can be done in a day. Perhaps you could enlighten on that.
Yes, with pleasure. It's a very important point because the technology for it to truly see its benefits and see its results, well, you got to experiment and do these tests for yourselves and to prove it to yourself. Because these are like the first real steps to seeing that there's really something going on with these systems. So I'm going to draw you a little picture of a setup. A 12-volt setup is pretty basic. So we'll start with the battery, because you were talking about you wanted to install this on with solar panels, and this would be the ideal way to do it so far in my test. So let's put here positive and negative. This is actually gravitational, this is magnetical. So basically, you got a battery. You have a battery. I use an inverter because with an inverter, what happens is the battery needs to send enough energy for the inverter to light up. So once it's light up and you plug in stuff into it, you know you're getting your 120 volts. I'll explain to you why that is very important in the test. Basically, you want to know if the coil, either a McGrath or a Tesla magnetical, is giving you savings. So what you do is you plug your wires on your inverter directly, and then you plug your light. Let's say you're going to be using a LED light. So light. Say it's a LED light. You plug your light on it, and then you turn it on, and you see how many hours you're getting off your battery. I plug also a multimeter on it to give me a reading of my voltage, right? So like we're starting the battery, let's say it's at 12.5 volts. Then you just measure how many hours it takes for the battery to drain, to the inverter to stop. Usually they stop around 10.5 volts, all depends on the inverter. So you let it run and you give yourself the time. It will give you something maybe like 6 hours use. Once you've done this benchmark, this is the first thing you have to do. You really have to do this. Don't plug the device on your system, because I'll explain to you after why you can't do that. You have to start to benchmark with no device. Give yourself a real benchmark of what you're plugging on the system so you don't make any mistakes. Now, next thing you got to do is just bring your coil in. I like to use the Tesla magnetical because it's a single coil and it has the same results as a 3-stacker McGrath, or the same result as a 90-degree single stacker. But this is an important point. The McGrath usually has 3 stackers, coils inside like this. Now, this gives a reduction of 66% when I put it on this. If you plug one that's more like this, this is as powerful as these 3. This will give you 66%. And if you use the coil I did, Tesla Mag, one single coil will give you the same result. So either 3 systems should give out the same result in this case. So you plug, the first thing, this is your positive, okay? So you plug your positive, you need a capacitor. The capacitor you have to put it there or else you're getting a spark and it will not work. The capacitor stores for the energy, because there's paper here, to jump from one wire, the interior, to the exterior wire, which is wrapped around it. This is very important. And measure your voltage. Once you put this here, measure your voltage from there to there with this device, to see that you're pumping out still close to your 12 volts. Because if your capacitor right here prevents you from having too much energy loss, usually 11.5, if you lose 1 volt, it's okay, your capacitor is good. If you lose more than 1 volt here, it might cause trouble, your capacitor is too thick, it's not well done, you won't have the same results. But if it's a good capacitor, you plug your positive, and then you plug your negative here to your positive to your coil, and your negative here to your negative there. It's that simple. As soon as you're going to be doing that, you restart your test. You recharge your battery right before doing this test. Right? You recharge it to 12.5 volts, or the initial voltage you had in the beginning, and then you test it. Now you're sure that you've done your benchmarks, everything's plugged well, you open your inverter, you'll get it going. It's going to go for at least about 18 hours instead of 6. So it's pretty obvious. You could even calculate an average. In an hour, you'll see even 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you could tell. You could start to tell by just doing an average of it. What's really, really unique about this system is when you do plug it like this, and you get it going for an hour or two. If you take off this coil and this capacitor, it will still give you 18 hours. Okay? It will still give you the 18 hours. It's still working. The way I see it, my theory about this is the battery itself, I don't know, the electrons or whatever that's inside, align themselves. Just like a nano coating would align themselves when you're using the device on it. And then you just unplug the device and it stays like that until you recharge it. When you come back and you recharge it again with your charger, it just scrambles up. And you don't have the same savings. It falls back to 6 hours. Now, when I first initially tested this system, I was impatient, and I would put my coil on it, and I measured it, and I was like, hey, I'm losing energy, you know, it went down. And I was like, okay, so it gives me an average of 10 hours. And then I took the device off, and it didn't change anything. I was still getting 18 hours. And now I was like, what's going on with this thing? And I went days and on and doing tests, and then, oh, it worked, and suddenly it didn't work because I didn't understand that when you always do your benchmark without a device, because these devices continue working when you take them off the system. Mr. Kesh has always said that, and it does it right off the bat with a battery. And trust me, I've done these tests at least 50 times, if not hundreds of times. Always the same thing. So, very important, no device on the system when you want to give yourself a benchmark. And if you did have a device on it, make sure you unplug it and you recharge your battery to reset it to its default value. Now, since you're going to be plugging solar panels on it, you'll have a constant charge going in. And I think over the long run, everything will not only nano coat, but the system will activate, because you got to understand that when it's recharging, it self-defaults in a certain way. And the solar panel, if it charges at the same time it's using, the effect might take longer for it to work, but at the end of the day, you're going to end up having faster recharge and more longer use on your discharge. All these things are measurable in different ways, and sometimes you'll see that it's not black and white. What do I mean by that? What I mean is sometimes you'll see a discharge that's equal to 6 hours, but once you're going to unplug it, all right, unplug the light, your voltage is going to come back up to the 12.5, or it will have lost like 0.2. But during your test, you will have lost one, like let's say about 60.6 volts. But when you unplug it, the whole thing jumps back up. It always jumps back up, but with the device, it not only jumps back up, it jumps back up to the state where it was previously. And you got to watch out, because if you do your test and you're noticing, oh, it's not working, unplug it, you'll see. You'll see what I'm saying. It always ends up giving you an average of 66%. Anyway, when I say 66, that means for a house. 66% means 300% longer use on a battery. That's what it equals to. You'll figure out by yourself when you do the testing. You'll see what I'm saying, that if you save 66% when you plug it in the wall, that would mean if it would be a battery, it would last 3 times longer. And that's what it means. And yeah, no doubt there. So that's it. That as soon as you know this, then you're set. You're okay. You'll be able to do the test, and you'll have results. You'll be able to notice where the results are if you're not seeing them, and a faster recharge and a voltage coming back up, plus a percentage of longer use. It always in the same range all the time. So this is really fun, and even easier test than this, to really test it out. For people who don't have coils, you could do the same type of test with a flashlight. Because a regular flashlight at the dollar store, not a LED light, not the expensive ones, because those are really bright. You want one that's bright, but regular brightness, as in the dollar store type of bright LEDs. Then you put 2 rechargeables in it. You do your benchmark, see how long it lasts, or you buy 2 flashlights. Make one that you don't put a device in when you put a device, or else you do a benchmark, see how long it lasts. It'll last you maybe something like 8 hours. And then do the same thing, leave the batteries on it, but just plug a capacitor in parallel. Plus, this is plus, this is minus, these are plugged together. So your capacitor, let's build capacitor. Your mind is supposed to be in the center, but sometimes it ends up on top. That's because of field difference between metals you're using. Long story short, you measure you take your multimeter, you make sure that your minus is there, your positive is there, or the other way apart. You plug your minus to your minus and your positive to your positive. And you open the flashlight. Your chances are, if it's well done, if it's made like a tube cell, with the capacitor on top of it, chances are you'll have full sustenance. Now the flashlight I have is going past 90 days now. I showed it before. It's still on. Yesterday night, that night I looked at it, I was like, hey, this is the same thing. I measured the voltage. I went from 2.56 volts to 2.50 volts in 3 months. I didn't lose any power. So I've never had them last so long, in the sense that I would all unhook them before 3 months, The batteries were laying there and all that. I needed the batteries to do other tests, and I got impatient. But this one I'm letting go. I'm letting there, and I bet you it's going to last years. Simple, as simple as that. To prove it to yourself. Oh, you're on mute, Dave.
What, me?
Dave, I think Dave wants to speak, but he's on mute.
Oh, sorry. Okay, you're being unmuted, David.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah. But I thought that explanation was fantastic. Thank you, Stefan.
My pleasure. It's very important. My pleasure. I hope everybody's going to do these tests.
Well,
one other thing I just wanted to pass by you was with the tube cell, making the tube cell, you start off with a sort of battery-looking object.
Yes.
What is that, and what is it?
Okay, so
or can you make them?
Well, right now I have a lot of them that I've already made. I have a video also how to make them on my YouTube. I have 2 videos, but I could explain to you the basic, right? These are just the tube cells that I'm using now. They're, what's the name of it? The viral, it's glass there. I don't remember the name, the pronunciation of it. Biosilicate or something like that. Long story short, they're used in the laboratories, and they're heat resistant and all that. So I put GANs in them, and I put 2 coils, preferably 1 aluminum and 1 copper. I nanocoat the copper, but you don't have to, but it's best to nanocoat both of them. It's good to use a big, how can I say this? A bigger diameter in aluminum, because there is some type of corrosion. All depends on the GANs that you use. So this is a cell. This gives you voltage, and the more you put on it, the more voltage you get, and you get it. They're very good like this. They're good to put on a plasmatic system, health system, health device, star constellation, stuff like that. Now the capacitor that I put over it, it's a regular what we could call a regular capacitor. in the way I make them anyways. Aluminum tape, and then scut towel with GANs on it, wax paper on top of it, and a coil wrapped around it. It's very important not to make the layers thick, to keep it one turn of scut towel, then GANs it, one turn of wax paper, and then wrap around it. If you do it slightly thicker than that, you lose a lot of voltage that comes in. You won't get the same voltage coming out. So that the thickness of the paper is very important. So basically, what would happen in the past is that capacitors, single layers or double layers, because you could do double, triple layers capacitor and give yourself more voltage. But in the past, when we made cells like that, we would just wrap like zinc on top of it and then coil or wire, but they would dry up and we wouldn't have the voltage we would have initially. So by doing it like this, I ensure that the cell keeps the voltage there, right? And on top of that, it goes through the capacitor to make my jump. So it's like two devices in one. And the fact that I could re-loop it onto itself, each shell becomes infinite. It has an infinite loop with itself. So by using this technique, you kind of double the effect of cells themselves. You're not only reinforcing the structure within itself, but you have two devices there, and you have a lot of options of how to plug them. You could come in through the capacitor, so you have a bridge that jumps to a plasmatic state to go in the tube. To go out to the device, you could plug them in parallel directly with the capacitors on them in parallel with it. Would also work. There's a lot of different configuration. It's like I figure it out now, all of them, but took me a while. That's because I understand now that a lot of the field difference comes with the type of wires that you're using. If you use 2 nano-coated copper wires, you don't have field difference between both of them. So there's no field flow that goes through the GANs, or much less. We're talking about maybe a few milliamps, 10, 20, like max. As soon as you put the aluminum, you get your 0.5 steady. And this is just a basic. This is just to enlarge the conscious of people that the difference in potential in each wire is what creates the difference in field flow and intensity. And with that knowledge, then you can start to really put more flow in your system. And plus, Mika always comes up and he says, Mika is very advanced, and sometimes you're wondering what planet it comes from. But this technique he showed me is that you take a wire, any wire, and you put it on your forehead. You don't touch your forehead. And there's a direction where you'll feel your breathing lighter, and this way for me is heavier breathing than this way. Or you feel a strangeness in the forehead, because the energy always goes from right to left naturally. And when you put it in the right direction, where the flow naturally of the wire is going in that direction, when you put it like that, it feels good. But when you put it on the other way, there's a way it doesn't feel as good. Now, when you figure it out which flow, and it could be a straight wire, a regular straight wire, once you really figure it out the direction of the flow of the natural system, then you nano-code in that direction with fire. Well, I like fire. And then you get two times the more, you get more energy flow going in that direction. There's no contradiction within the system itself. So it's important when you get to a certain level or a certain stage, when you really want to make a system that's perfect, these things all have to be considered. The direction of the flow of the material that you use, and this works with all materials.
Oh, that's amazing, Stefan. Thanks for sharing that.
My pleasure.
What do you think, Fred? Russ, have you experimented like
there we go. Yeah, Stefan's working on the polarity, and the demonstration I'll be bringing up a little bit later on is along the same lines, and how do we reduce the amount of resistance in the system? And Stefan brings up an interesting point, and probably quite valid, in that all the molecules in a wire, when it's manufactured, is aligned in a certain direction. So it will have an internal charge to it, or a pathway. We nanocoat the outside surface and are dealing primarily with the nano surface on the outside. But if it's running in counter with the internal effect, yeah, you probably won't have as good of effect as if you can line everything up in the same direction.
Yes.
Oh, right. So, any more questions for us?
Yeah,
David, do you have any more questions, or shall we move on and continue? If Stefan wants to continue with more of the things that he wants to share with us, oh, please feel free to do so. We are really very interested in what you're sharing.
Well,
Could I ask Stefan a question?
Yes.
Go on then, Vince.
Do you know, when you mentioned the Tesla magnetical coil a few times, I've looked on your YouTube site and there isn't a video that actually calls it a Tesla magnetical coil. What video is it to make it?
Well, actually, you're right. I didn't do the video yet of how to build the Tesla magnetical.
Okay.
You know, for months and months, I was giving a lot of stuff. And when I went through the Tesla magnetical system, I said, okay, I'll ask for donations for people that want to. And by doing that, believe it or not, I received some donations, like $50. But people started building my system. As soon as I did that, it made an interest. I don't ponder much about these things, right? And the Tesla magnetical is an easy system to build, very easy. So I'll show it to you. It's not that I want to hide the principle. It's just that sometimes making a video is harder than it seems.
Right, okay.
I need I need to tell you the right size of the tube that I made. I need to tell you the diameter of all this and that. And that's the hard part. But the easy part is that it's easy. What it is this one is one of them. This is actually one of my first one I made. I have another one here that's more beautifully made, the one in the center here. This is the second one I made. Actually, what it is there's a tube, but there's a coil in the tube, regular type of coil of a McGrath for the most part. I have other designs, but to keep it simple right now, inner core of a McGrath looping on itself, the wire re-looping on itself, and the two wires are coming out. And on the exterior, the only thing it is two coils facing each other, connected to each other with the wire clockwise, and two coils counterclockwise. So I come out with my wire gravitational, and then I go to my gravitational coils. It pops out to the other side, gravitational. And then the inner coil, the second wire, goes to magnetical and pops out to the other side, magnetical. This is to create AC effect, pump more energy through it. What I ended up making was a coil. When I measured the frequency of it, this frequency is between 3 hertz and 20 hertz, with an average of 8 hertz earth frequency. I bet you this coil plugged on the solar system like you have, and plugged in the ground, I bet you that's the solution to all problems. I wouldn't be surprised at all. At all. We're very close to it. The only reason I'm not doing these tests is because I don't really have a ground. The only ground I have is like the metal outside, and it's maybe not the most intelligent thing to be doing in a house because of lightning.
Stefan, But you could have a long wire that could go down to a place where you can ground it into the earth, right?
In my case, I live on a third floor, plus it's all cement downstairs. There's no ground.
Oh,
So I'm not in a good situation to be, or else I would have done these steps months ago. We're so like, I can't do everything. I could have done a bit more, but not much. I've already put everything I have in. All my time into this, and nobody really from the beginning supported what I was doing, and nobody was listening and repeating my tests. So my God, was it difficult. My God, it's like, my God, you know what I mean? I had to take.
This is Frazzle, Stefan.
Yes.
Is your building three-prong grounded? Is your grid on a ground? Does it have a ground?
It's connected.
Ground wire.
It's connected to the negative here in Canada.
Oh, okay. Well, in the States, both the negative wire, which is your white wire, and your green wire, which is your ground, when it goes back to the panel, both of those wires go to ground. That's the way they're installed. It's part of the lie that the power companies give you on what's what. But anyway,
yes.
What I'm saying is you can isolate your ground with your three-prong by removing your white and your black wires from your plug-in. Just bust them off and tape them so they don't come in contact. And then you'll have just your third wire, which is your ground wire, going in. And you'll be able to use that even on the third floor.
Yes. But I was thinking maybe it would have an interference of something else from the grid.
Quite possibly.
But I'll try it anyway.
Okay, I'm out. I'll stay.
Yes, thanks. We should all try it. These are simple tests, and if we're just a few people doing them, and we're going to advance so fast. Right now, I'm at another stage. I'm going to share it with you, and it's the stage of 3D printing. I just purchased this, and I'm going to do tests with conductive filaments. This is a little device here, and I'm going to do tests with graphene. I bought graphene. I purchased it, so I'm going to be having fun with some designs that I've seen on the internet. It's like, wow!
Oh, that's wonderful.
Just imagine it, and it's already done. They already done it, They have those designs waiting to be printed. Balancing the device was not the easy task, building it either, but I managed to do it, and now I just need some filaments. So if somebody out there has some donation of filaments, I'd be glad to take them.
Oh, well done, Stefan. Stefan, you started work on your graphene material?
I'm waiting for the bottle. I ordered a graphene bottle of a single.
Well done. You're probably the first to have started to use graphene to experiment on.
Well, since the beginning, this, it didn't make sense to me that that all this technology Kesh was talking about, nobody was like doing the real science out there. It's like, we're turning this, turning that. When out there's people that could do that and print you this and have you a battery the size of my thumb that will light up almost a city. I mean, that's the reality of it, is that we're already there in the nano stages. When we're building computers, we have sizes of cities in that CPU already. Now, if we come in and we do the same thing with this, we miniaturize it and we put it in that little city, we could have a lot of power.
Oh, has any one of you actually seen the demonstration that Douglas Edward had actually really truly put together eventually at the in Washington D.C. I mean, where near the White House at that hotel. What's the name of the hotel?
I saw one video, 5 minutes, or 2 videos of 5 minutes each, but I didn't see a working device. But the people there, military, asked them to present it. Mr. Kish said that he would not like present it to them, but he would have them build it, and I think that's because he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to have more problems than he should.
But what do you think of that device? I mean, it's like completely off-grid, and everybody was like saying, "Hooray! At last!" Because something that is completely off-grid.
Hooray! Yes, but the reality of it is that now we got motors, compressors. It's a complicated system that has nothing really to do with plasma.
Well, they have big promises, like, you know, it can be taken apart so that Douglas would be able to show and team how they can put it all together in a jiffy. Like,
yes, I can't wait to see how they proceed. It would be nice if that system would be a working system, because we don't really mind that it's not pure plasma, but the fact that it has mechanics to it, it'll tend to break, and that's not really the what we were promised. So, and the reality is that compressed air, we could have used compressed air for a long time. It's been suppressed. We can actually compress air in natural ways where it doesn't even cost energy to compress it. And we could would be able to use it not only for electricity, but for cars and all that. So air compression has been a technology that's been suppressed for a long, long time.
Well, has any one of us here in this meeting room actually seen the whole video recording of how Douglas Edward and his team put together this device, and whether it's easy enough to?
Well, we could imagine that if he's blowing up a bubble of air, there's always that potential of air that you could go extract from. So the system, I don't know how he manages it, but theoretically, when you pump air into an air compressor, it stays there and the energy is stored until you release it. So for sure, it is a way to keep the system going, like a recharging a battery type of system, but now you're using the air to keep the whole system keeping on going. So it's probably the combination of AC that switches to compress the air at the same time that it's take the energy, so it will sustain. So there is, for sure, it could work. If you made it to
I'll
work.
throw in some 2 cents on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Frazzle. Currently, the team that I'm working with here in the States, we noticed right away that the Douglas system had some basically critical flaws in it because of the mechanics of it.
Right.
We're in the process of joining the aquarium pump to the DC motor in a very aligned way, so there isn't any wobble through the system. It's going to take about another 4 or 5 days before we get the first connection machined. It takes a process of time, and it's exacting. It's not something that you can do in your backyard and get it to work. I looked at it and I went, no, this isn't going to work. You're going to shatter that ceramic shaft. The power comes off of that.
Sorry, Fraz, are you saying that you actually studied the Douglas device intently to understand where the flaws are, and you are looking for a solution to rectify the flaws?
Correct. Well, we end up right now. There's a bunch of there's a couple of places in Douglas's machine that is vulnerable to mechanical error. I mean, it's just Douglas, as we call the MacGyver system in our team, simply it's botched together. It works. It's quite interesting. It does teach us the pathways of the plasma flow in the idea. It's a very large model, and now we're looking at how do we make it smaller and more compact. And this was alluded to in Dr. Kesh's talks shortly thereafter, and I'll show you some of the evolutions of that later on today during my time. But the problem that we run into with Douglas is it's just strictly the physical connections where the devices come together. you have a problem right where the two motors come together. The benefit of it is the aquarium pump is going to throw out what we call dirty AC. It has spikes and dips. It has DC overtones to it, RF radio frequency tones. It's a dirty charge coming backwards out of it, just the way of the system of magnets. So you have some resistance because the impeller on the inside of that pump, my company sells a dozen of those a week just for ponds and aquariums. It's not, it's something I know of. I'm a repair for those, and that particular brand, in fact. And I know that that shaft can't take any vibration or shift. The other place that you're going to have problems with the Douglas system is right at the refrigerator capacitors. And those are a step down. It goes from one system, which is your startup coil on it, down to your run cycle. And as the machines get older, as those get older, you're going to end up with a failure at that particular point. So what we're looking at is seeing if we can go to some sort of solid state, start run. We'll see how it goes. But those are the 2 points where the failures are immediately happening. And it's hard getting the systems quickly put together accurately so that it doesn't happen, so you have a chance to do a decent bench test. Okay, I'm going to step back.
Amazing, Bruce. Right, I was just thinking, you know, if that's the case, then, you know, if they are presenting to the public already, then it must have been tested and proven that it really, truly, completely works. But not quite, as you said. And he was running about 7 household appliances all in one go. He's got the fridge, he's got a hairdryer, he's got the microwave oven, he's got this, he's got that. Wow, you know, everything that you need to power a home with that device, the generator, the Mograph generator. It seems to be looking so good. Well, apparently you say there were flaws, and they haven't actually really demonstrated that in public yet until to date, right? Or have they already done it?
The test out in the field where he has it out with the ground, that one is an operating system. The one that he had inside the house was an operating system. The problem was the transporting it from point A to point B quickly assembling it, not having exactly the same parts when he got there because he left them back at the house.
Yeah.
This is called hurried, and this is things that you don't do with this technology, especially at this level. And part of what Stefan is talking about today, and part of what I'll be talking about, is along that same line. From this point forward, we have to be more exact in how we proceed. You know, we could botch things together prior to this point, but to get what we want in the line of the voltage, every error that you make is at least 10% that you lose off the original coil or winding or your source. And in speaker systems, we call it a loss in decibels. You have resistance and a number of ohms, but when you do each connection, you lose decibels, you lose power. So anyway, I'm going to back out and let you guys talk for a minute.
Exactly. Thank you, Fres. Fres, before you back up, Fres, I'm sure you want to share some stuff that you've been developing on yourself that you did share with me on Facebook chat. Do you want to bring it up now?
Sure. There's a couple of things before we get into the actual new, what we call, this is the liquid plasma generators, electric generators, which will go to the solid state. These are, we basically go from Douglas's to the liquid plasma, but then we go to the solid state. Each time it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, but by starting with the understanding of the Douglas system, which is in the macro stage, we then can work towards miniaturization. We didn't make a mini computer that you can wear on your wrist without developing the TR7 computer, which took up half my desktop, okay?
Makes sense.
But we're going to get to safety. In our systems, what we're looking at is use of things that are heavy metals, either gold GANs, silver GANs, or lead GANs. And lead being the most toxic. What happens is we're setting up electron sinks. We're setting up a tumble, and we need to have a place for these electrons, neutrons to go to once we get them tumbling. The safest ones, of course, are going to be your gold because it's heaviest and densest and less toxic. Your silver will work, but it is not as dense, it's not as heavy, and so you're not going to get the pull that you need. Remember, plasma sucks, it doesn't push. Okay?
Right.
It doesn't have force forward pushing it like your AC current, and I may get to that if we have time. But your lead GANs, people are all of a sudden going, oh, we need lead GANs. Our team, I flat out refused to manufacture the lead GANs until we had an absolute need for it, and I did it myself alone without anybody in the area, simply because it gives off gases when it's formed, because we're using a DC current, and it's the typical 1.2 volts at 0.03 amps. Okay?
Right.
Simple. And that's what we use for our gold GANs. This is what we use for our nano silver GANs. This is what we use for our colloidal silver, lab grade. Same stuff, same techniques. But the problem is when you run to lead, you're now going to have something that's an end product, which is a hazardous material. Do not cross-contaminate your tools, your containers, with anything that comes in contact with the lead GANs.
What about the brass GAN? Brass.
What?
Brass.
What?
Brass GAN.
Brass?
Yeah.
Brass is the same, is another one, but it's an alloy, remember.
Yeah. So
brass is an alloy.
It will contaminate the other GANs as well, right?
Oh, anytime you mess with your alloy GANs, you have a chance of it to actually travel theoretically from one test tube to the other, sitting beside it. And I demonstrated it with my silver GANs with zinc oxide and with CH3 as we were getting ready to assemble the device you'll see in a few minutes. It went from a clear GANs to a cloudy GANs just in proximity. And it was like, this is impossible. No, it's not. Okay? You're setting up plasma fields. But getting back to the lead, because lead, people are going to be experimenting with it. Any contact with skin is bad news. It has accumulative effects in the human body. Do not toss your wash water. If you clean your lead GANs, do not throw away the water, which means you're going to have a whole bunch of lead-contaminated water wash that you can't use on your plants. You can't put it on the ground. You can't throw it down the sink. You can't dispose of it in the normal ways. What you have to do is evaporate the water out of your wash water, where you have a concentrate, and now you have a usable product again. So you're not throwing it away. You're not mixing it with any of the other GANSs. It is by itself, and you're wearing gloves. You're not inhaling the vapors and stuff off of it. It is not a safe GANs to play with just willy-nilly. With knowledge is responsibility. Okay?
So my question is, why make lead GANs in the first place anyway if it's so contaminating and poisonous? Why bother to make it? What's the use?
Well, as I say, they're looking for a very good sink, a very good, what we call artificial ground. It's used in electronics, and as I say, it was one of the ones that I refused to bring into the lab, in with my group, until just recently. You're better off playing with the gold than you are with the GANs, with the lead. Okay? It's just, if you're going to play with it, you have to do good lab technique and keep it off your skin. Don't breathe it. Don't toss it. Don't cross-contaminate it. Don't use it in your, in the kitchen, because you're going to be consuming it if you're not careful, and it accumulates in the body.
Oh, we're so grateful to your knowledge here. Press, one last question before I let anybody else take the talking stick. One last question. Okay, now, Jackie himself has been with us in the last meeting, and oh my God, I mean, it's so amazing to hear about the breakthroughs that he has brought about, the not eating meat. So now we have, well, our members here in FESIG trying that out. And we have got James, and James doing very well with the drops each day and in his water to drink. And he told me that he's got such amazing results, you know, and some people are feeling some awakening, stirring within the subconscious level. And here, I pose you this question first. Wouldn't it be dangerous if people just innocently, unknowingly, accidentally make some of the other gases that are hazardous to health and poisons, like the lead GANs that you're talking about? So can we now come up with a system where we can come up with food-grade GANs? And what are the guidelines that you think ought to be in place here?
Well, for consumption GANs, we're looking at basically the food grade and the lab, you know, it's lab grade or food grade type products.
Yeah.
It means not having the other components anywhere near the production of those GANs. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. It means you just don't bring it into wherever you're manufacturing your GANs. You don't bring it into where you're putting together your food. It's one of those ones that we really have to be very careful with and isolate it. And maybe in the future we will have companies that will be making specific GANs for each, and then it's basically labeled. It was not produced in, you know, next to nuts and wheat and that kind of stuff, but not against mercury or lead or the radioisotope GANs. None of these were in our facilities when these were being made. It isn't. It's the proximity where you're putting this stuff.
Are you yourself consuming some drops of the GANs that you made, the food grade ones?
I did some healing on an eye. I was working on a construction site, and I got a metallic piece in my eye that was white hot, and it burnt the white part of my eye, and it was very uncomfortable. And I used the CO2 GANs in the eye drops for 7 days, and the relief was immediate for the pain. This was a very nasty burn and very irritating, and it actually blistered it. And it took about 7 days, and then I discontinued it because I was feeling fine. I went around the GANs production every day for once or twice a day, and as I said, I'm actually feeling better physically in the last 9 months that I've been working with GANs production. And to notice that everybody that goes into the production area where I've got the CO2 GANs and the zinc oxide and the others going, the first thing they have to do is excuse themselves to go to the bathroom. The bladder cannot have you can't have a full bladder and be standing around these things. The pressure is just expanding, and it's like, see you in a minute, and they go and they come back, and it's like, yeah. And if they go outside the building, the urge is gone, but it's right there in front of the GANs that you go, I have to excuse myself and use the bathroom.
Oh, now that you mentioned that, no wonder I've got more frequency. You know, like James, I have also started taking some drops, and I felt some benefits, I must say. I felt David was asking me on the way to his home here to host this meeting. We were walking along the fields, and he's saying, "What do you feel that is different after you've taken it for myself?" I've done it, I think, almost a week now. I said I've never felt so alert, and I felt really healthy and good. And now I need to ask you. You're an expert on GANs, Fres. Oh, that's beautiful. That's the CH3 one, right? Or is it a mixed GANs? The three mixed together.
This is a iron oxide GANs. And it goes, this is one because what had happened, because of my change in diet, I'm on the no grains of grasses, and I feel better from it. I'm anemic. And so this goes into my water glass. It's just basically a washed iron oxide GANs, and every day, and it's getting better. So I'm seeing some benefit from just having the iron oxide GANs in the water glass. We were playing with other health pens, and this will lead into my next one, so I'm going to go to it. These are test tubes, glass test tubes. This is your typical health pen coil with the 2 wires coming down. This one has a piece of quartz crystal in the middle of it. It's used in the water. Takes about 5 minutes, and it seems to alkalize the water. It tastes better, and we have a lot of positive response to it. It's nano-coated. We seal all the tops of our pens and all the tops of our health bottles with the tape. It's a silicone self-sealing tape, so you can't come in contact with any nano-coated surfaces or anything that might be on the inside. Works really well. So anyway, going forward, you remember that shape. Remember the liquid.
Yeah.
The first, I want to move my display into the camera and see if we can do this. Okay, this first one was an attempt at the wireless. This is the liquid plasma generator. There's CH3 GANs, CO2 GANs, and silver GANs. Is the 3 liquid GANs is on the outside. I chose the silver because I wanted a difference between the one in the center so that I could have the center one at this point, which is not connected. This is the lead GANs, and it has a little bit of white GANs in the bottom, but it's the lead liquid. The system goes in. You notice there is a lot of connections, a lot of connections. Each one of those connections reduces the flow by about 10%. So it went to the next generation of the MagGrav assembly. At the bottom, you notice the wire goes around and goes back in on itself. Each one of these units is one wire, inside and out. They are connected together with 3 connections. These are your
kind of like the infinity idea that Mike Nashif has been teaching. Yeah.
Yes. Now, what's interesting, and this is what Stefan alluded to a few minutes ago, is we don't know who's first. But I'll tell you one thing: there's 3 of us that are going along this one on our own, and then coming in and going, "Oh, darn, you already posted it," and it's perfectly okay. It's a little friendly idea, and I want to show you my last one.
Yeah, beautiful.
Which is, once again, you have your continuous loop down through and back, but you notice I have eliminated all the connections except for one. This is one wire inside and out, giving the 3.
It's like the circle cells.
Exactly. Now,
Beautiful.
the thing is,
but it's coil. It's really cool. Nice
but
work.
the thing is, the base, what everybody learned to make, and this is why you say, well, is Cash, learning from us, or are we rediscovering what he's talking about? The deal is there's the health pen. That's what those are. Those are all health pen coils.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're a little bit on steroids. They're a little bit better. They've evolved because there's people working at the same time, at the same frequency, tapping into the same source and going, aha, okay, we now have something in front of us that has the least amount of loss from one to the other. The next step, of course, is to nano-coat these.
Mm-hmm.
My solution, which will probably be brought up by Mr. Cash, hopefully tonight, will explain how I did this.
Wow.
Okay, there is a trick, but it means that you can't fire nano-coat them after you're done. You'll probably have to either hot caustic steam them,
Mm-hmm.
or use what we learned from Kosel, which is doing your ash
and coconut oil. Yeah.
Personally,
Okay. No, you're getting ahead now, Crystal. No.
Sorry.
As I told you before,
Yeah.
when Douglas came onto the scene everything changed. And we are no longer playing willy-nilly. We have to start being exact in what we're doing and be conscious of plasma flow. And what Stefan was saying is one more point that probably, I know I even missed. Okay? I'm going to say thank you, Stefan. Because internally, I know the molecules of the copper align electrically, magnetically when they're produced, and they don't change because they're in solid matter state. Just because you nano-coated them doesn't change the matter state of the copper inside. If we are aware and conscientious to that fact, then we can make better systems by utilizing that difference in that, from one end of the wire to the other, instead of butting heads against it. Okay? Now, my team also found out something very interesting about this, and we're going to go into why everything cannot be just in matter state and why you have to go to plasma state and do the metaphysical analysis of what's going on in here. When the energy comes from one coil, from the large coil, it feeds the smaller coil, goes in and feeds. Magnetic into gravitational, gravitational into magnetic, it spirals down to the bottom. Have you ever been in a situation where everything in your life was spiraling down out of control, just darker and darker, blacker and blacker, deep down into the hole, into the inside of this coil, until you get to the bottom, and it changes direction. You make a decision, and you come out, and you go backwards out of the spiral that you got yourself into, and you're looking, because you now have separation. You're no longer inside the coil going down. You're on the outside coming up. Okay? And you can see where you were. You make a change. So we are taking from the inside, from what we learn, and applying it as we ascend upwards to a new idea. Now, there's 3 of them. There may be 6 of them. There may be a dozen of them. We don't know. But today, right now, with what we know at this moment, we know that we go through 3 of these changes. Maybe it's depression. Maybe it's alcoholism or addiction. Maybe it is religion. But when we get down to the bottom of each one of those, we make a decision and we change direction and we come back and we learn and we get back to the top. Okay? We learn something, that we are no longer stuck in the matter state.
You should know how to connect the dots with the metaphysics side of plasma technology. Thank you.
1 second here, we aren't done yet, and then I'm going to leave you for a minute. So we were in the 2-dimensional, good or bad, going into each of these spirals, each of the metaphysical, okay, back and forth, back and forth. We never rose above that in this entire system. Never did. Never went anywhere. Just round and around in loops, chasing its tail. The snake chasing its tail.
Yeah.
Okay? We then start adding into our systems, how do we gravitate away from it? How do we learn from it and go into 4th dimension or 3rd dimension? 3rd dimension first, then 4th dimension, and then 5th dimension. And that's where your electricity comes off. That is where your healing comes off. That is where your enlightenment comes off. This is where your ascension, lift, everything happens outside this physical realm. Okay, questions?
Oh, okay, sorry. I want to say this, okay. It's so amazing. Now it's coming together. That's why physics been set up to bring all these groups together without taking sides, because this is what it's all about, right? And you just put it so succinctly for everyone to understand how all these team players are coming into the equation as one. When Mr. Cash brought all of us together, and then Mike Nashe came to the picture. Actually, it was Mike Nashe who said that he was the one who came up with the hell pan idea. And he taught Renan how to do the hell pan, and Renan brought it to the Cash Foundation. And so the hell pan has been established as a fantastic, amazing tool for healing. And then he taught the infinity concept of how all these wires should not be cut. It should be a continuum of a loop, which you have adopted, and you come together with that. And then Stefan, and then Kuso Uch has come up with some stuff as well. And you, Press, and Stefan, you are putting it together. Woo!
Well, right now, yeah, you just hit the lucky number. They both go together. Both are devices. I'm missing the third one here. I cut it. But long story short, I had 3 one wire like you. They go on top of yours, and they create the magnetical for the lift system. So
I think so.
we have both hands of the device right now.
So it is not belonging to one particular inventor or scientist or spiritual scientist.
No.
It is
No. There's, as I say, right now worldwide, there is 3 of us. There's 3 of us that are right here.
Exactly.
And I just managed to get my button down send, I think, before the rest of them. But a few of them went, oh, we've got this figured out on the bottom. I said, yes, I did it yesterday, but I didn't get any pictures on it. You know, monkey ego, okay?
Yeah.
I don't care. Here it is.
Mm-hmm. Well done.
What do you need? Do you understand all the ramifications of this little device in your thinking in 4D, 5D? The next step is, okay, it's only a tool. This is only a workaround. This is a mechanical matter state workaround of a problem, okay? This is not all of it, you know? It's like who designed the video chip that makes your monitors play better when you're video gaming? I have no idea. We remember Steve Jobs, but we don't remember that really cool technician that figured out how to do a video chip separate. You know, it doesn't matter. This is a video chip for, you know, what it's worth department. Yeah, it's a workaround to get away from all those bloody connections and simplify it. That's all.
Wow.
Okay, thank you much.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you. This is an amazing thing. Now we realize, okay, this is not about my invention, my device. It is ours. We're all one. This is the 100 monkey concept of consciousness is coming together. So somebody has started something, the next one will develop it, and the next one will continue with it, and then come up with a prototype. I know. So here we are. Hooray, brothers. Well done.
It's all about advancing consciousness.
It is. So why fight? Why separate? We ought to come together. I really love the idea of...
Not enough people were working at it. Now at least people are working at it.
Yeah, talking to the mic, and then together we're doing the presentation through physics platform, and we have probably one fine day Mr. Cash will want to come and present some ideas as well. That would be amazing, won't it? And we all together as one.
Yes. Yeah, the discoveries that will come out of this are very, very wide. All the GANs, the interactions of the coils and the GANs is where it's between the matter state and the plasma state, and we'll always be within those states because we know we live in a world where some material is needed. Maybe one day some people won't want any and just live in the plasma, but I know personally I love to pick up a guitar and play guitar. It's all different form of expression, so might as well embrace it.
Hey, I want to say hi to James. Hi, you're here, Ron and Socks. Sorry, we couldn't stop to welcome you earlier when you stepped into the room.
Yes, and I'm sorry that I came in so late.
Oh, don't be sorry.
Oh, but this stuff is just absolutely fascinating to me. I mean, it's just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
I know. We are so blessed with a fantastic scientists, spiritual scientists like Fraz and Stefan here with us in our midst. And James, I'm sure, has developed some stuff. James, can we hear from you what you've got to say about your experiment with the GANs, the ingestion of the GANs with your drinking water and food? You have some benefits, right, James? We're all ears. Go on then, bro.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hey, yeah, so I had to stop taking it because it was making me so drowsy. My theory is that it changes your DNA from carbon to crystalline, and I was just taking too much, so I had to figure out a dosage that's a lot lower. But essentially, I was taking a mix of the CH3, the Cu, and the CO2. Wait, what the zinc GANs, and I noticed I was becoming very, very clairvoyant. I noticed I felt I was able to like handle people better, meaning like normally I have like anxiety in public and so on, and all of a sudden I felt like, you know, I didn't really was anxious as much as I used to be, but yeah, it was just, but it was making me too fatigued. So I don't know. Does anybody have a comment about that? Why that might have happened?
Well,
Yeah, I'm going to jump in real quick.
Go on then.
Basically, what you're looking at, Rick, is to not so much, if you're going to do direct GANs, you're going to want to use the wash of your GANs in the CO2, not any of the particulate. You want to keep it as minimal as possible. What we're finding is...
Hang on, sorry, Fred, I can't see you to pin your video. Okay, I see you now. Okay, go on then. You're saying, yeah. Okay.
Okay, basically it's a water glass, and in this one I'm using 2 health pens that are in glass. Actually, one is, I showed earlier, has the crystal in it, which is the quartz crystal. Standard health pen. This has got a little bit of CO2 GANs dipped at the far end, and that sits in the water. Very beneficial. We liked it. Sits in our lab all the time. In mine, because I've got an iron deficiency, I've been putting this test tube, which is washed iron GANs, in the water, and it takes about 5 minutes to make the transfer, and then drinking it. And Dr. Cash talks about from the bottom of the glass, use a straw to drink it out. And 2 things happen. One, the little vials don't hit you in the eye or in the nose when you drink it. And number 2, it seems to taste better from the bottom of the glass. And that you're not getting such a concentrate of your GANs when you consume it, using it indirectly with your test tubes and stuff. Okay?
Yeah, I like that idea. But do you have any theories on why it would create a lot of fatigue? Do you think it might?
You're just dealing with too much at one time.
Yeah, so
you're just overloading.
Yeah, I figure my DNA might be probably going through a transformation, and I probably need to lay down and sleep.
Oh, hang on. I just want to take it back a little bit in the past. Okay, what did you do, James? You told me that you added the GANs water. Is it the first rinse, or is it the seawater GANs water, or is it the second rinse water? And you added some GANs, the concentrated GANs as well. Then you use a dropper bottle, and you put the drops into your drinking water to drink, right? Every day, like 2 drops, 3 drops.
Yeah, I was down to 1 drop a day, and it was basically I made it from seawater. Well, it was sea salt for aquariums mixed with distilled water. But yeah, so I had the 3 different types of GANs. And then I mixed it together and just took 1 drop a day.
So sorry to interrupt. You're saying, I just want to make it clear for listeners, okay? You're saying that you put the 3 GANs, the CO2 GANs, the CH3 GANs, and the CuO GANs.
Yeah, that is correct. Mixed them together, put in a drop of the water I was drinking, and immediately, I started getting visions. I could see people. Well, let's see visions. My meditations was enhancing to the point where I could see visions that way. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I felt like I'm a lot more well-rounded person, but I think I just need to go at it slower, for sure.
Okay, I have a question. So how do you go slower than 1 drop?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. I'm thinking maybe put 1 drop into 2 quarts of water.
Oh, good. Okay.
Just drink that slowly over a week. Yeah, that.
Oh, okay, over a week. Okay.
Or I could do what Fraz is doing and just make some of those beakers, what he's done, and just throw it into a quart of water and just drink it. You know, if I can get sealed. How's that sealed up, Fraz?
This is just done with the new silicone stretch tape. You can get it at the hardware stores. You pull it and it heats. It's like a rubber elastic tape, and it sticks to itself and sticks to your beakers.
The shrink wrap, right?
Not so much shrink wrap. No, it's actually self-clinging tape.
Okay, got you.
Is that like plumber's tape?
It's similar to we find it in the plumbing section in Home Depot, the plumbing supply shops. It runs about $9 a roll. It's like double stick tape, but there's a plastic layer that you pull off, and then you stretch it. And when you stretch it, yeah, it's a silicone tape.
Yeah.
And it sticks to itself.
Cool.
And it's a fast, down and dirty, fast way of sealing up your tubes and stuff, and they don't leak.
Awesome.
For us, that's an awesome another way of doing this, drinking the water, okay? What about the health cups that Renan and, Mr. Cash comes up with? The health cups where they put drops of the blood in the skin as well and all that. I mean, how does that work compared to all these other systems? Tell us.
We are working on basically evolving the feeding system for humans in space. And you have to have the amino acids, you have to have the zinc oxides and the other trace elements and things. And it's in its very infant stages. And by using the sippy cups, the drinking cups with the components on the outside and the liquid on the inside, you run the least risk of overdoing it, getting too much of one or the other. You want to set it up so the water absorbs the energy of the GANs, okay, so that your body then gets it in a smaller amount, and it can take what it needs from the plasma field. And so having a complete plasma field to work from with all the things that are necessary for the health of the human body, you then start to change your system from being consumers of large quantities of GANs in different forms, and I'll take a break here in a minute and go grab my examples, to where we're just doing the plasma off of them, okay? And we don't need that much. It's very, very concentrated energy. So when you go to do the drops, you want to isolate just the rinse water that's clear of the salt. You know, you've done 2 or 3 washes, and now you put in, let's say, distilled water or good well water or something like that, good clean water, and you wash the GANs again, let it settle out, and then you just take the top portion of the liquid out, and that is going to be then used to get the drops one at a time from. Very, very dilute. And that one drop, maybe 1 quart of water or 1 liter of water. 1 drop, maybe 25 liters of water. That's direct consumption. When you put it in the test tube, like the cups, the health cups are, you're doing indirect, so you don't have that having to dilute that concentrated plasma. Okay, I'm going to go get my examples and let you guys talk for a minute.
Yeah, and the way I see it, there's always going to be some particles of GANs in that water. No matter how many times you dilute it, there's always going to be a slight number there. I have a lot of friends, well, a lot. There's Joe that started drinking the GANs water. It tastes like a shot a day, an ounce a day. Mm-hmm. He had said that he sleeps a lot less. He has lucid dreams while he sleeps. Mm-hmm. He said that he eats a lot less. Zane also, Zane went in what I would consider overboard. He drank even aluminum GANs, and he drank a lot of it. I mean, a lot. And he reported good issues, but at the same time, other issues.
Oh, thanks for sharing that, Stefan.
Then I don't drink it. Personally, I'm waiting because I think it's gonna have long-term effects. I do it in Help Cup, and right now it does have a Help Cup with GANs water around it.
Right.
So
carry on speaking while I'm showing the health cup diagram, okay?
Yes, yes. So you were asking about these devices and about the blood. So the blood is, I think, is a part of it that's pretty, how to say, advanced.
Yeah, if you see this diagram, this was like released from the Cash Foundation, isn't it? It's like the blueprint from there. So this the GANs health curves and your blood, emotion, and skin physicality. You take what you need. It's there in a vial, okay, that you put on the side of the cup. So there are three vials by the side, and here we have different GANSes, and the other one different variations of amino acids to satisfy the spectrum of energy needed by the body. So this was what's released from the Cash Foundation.
This is really advanced because what ends up happening is you have field interactions going on, plus you're connected to it, so you don't even have to do anything. You will be like fed by this system because you have your blood in it. So, and you will also interact with the system. So it's very advanced. Like Mr. Kesh in the beginning said, if you put a drop of your blood in a patch of GANs, a healing patch, then you will feel connected to it. And even if you leave it on the table, it's an extension of yourself.
Right.
And that, to me, meant a lot of things. A lot of things. A lot of repercussions also on having, you know, like maybe the wrong person having your blood and using it in his own device and stuff like that. There's an alchemy there you got to watch out when you use your blood.
Well, it's got to be a personalized one, isn't it, Stefan?
Oh, yes. Yeah. And yes.
I've personally made a health cup myself, but without the blood, without the skin, without the GANs. It tastes so good, so sweet, and I put fruit on top as well, and the essence is there. Although I don't taste so much of the essence of the fruit yet, maybe, I don't know, maybe I need to make it stronger, the GANs. I mix the three GANSes together, CH3, CO2, CuO. So
yeah, the field interaction will work only with a really strong field. You'll need at least 20, 30 capacitors. In the way I see it, to have a system to transfer the taste very fast of the fruits you're putting on it. And we're talking a number of days here, not minutes or hours.
Yeah, but you were saying we have come to the conclusion then in this discussion that the safest way is to do what Fraz was showing us how to do it with the test tubes holding the GANSes put into the cup to drink the water from. And the other safe way is to do this health cup, but you don't have to put your blood and skin there to personalize it. I made a lot of the Hedika spirals, and I put around about 4 of it around the cup, and the fifth one at the bottom, it seems to be okay, and then the water tastes sweeter than anything it's really nice. Okay.
Well, if you want a mini, you put your blood in it. You want a mini.
Right, I'm going to take this off.
Okay, I'm back.
Fraz is showing something, yeah. Okay, Fraz, go on then. What is it that you want to share?
Okay, I bring a few food items that a lot of us consume fairly regularly. This happens to be a plum. I want you to take a look at the shape when you cut it in half. We have the outer ring, which is nano-coated. We have the center, which is basically the GANs of the plant in this form. The center is nano-coated. It's got a skin, and on the inside of that is the seed of the tree. Okay? Each one, we are, as humans, consuming the outer layers for our nutrition. Let's go to another example. The banana. We cut it in half. What do we see? We see the nano-coated layer around the outside edge. We see the GANs layer on the inside, which is stored energy for the seeds of the banana which are on the inside. We as humans consume the two inner ones of this particular GANs, the banana and the seeds that are microscopic, whole food. One more example. One more example. I like this one because I got the picture. I don't have to cut one in half right now because it isn't quite right. We have an avocado. On the outside is a nano-coated layer. On the inside is the meat of the avocado. On the inside is a nano-coated layer which has the seed. We as humans consume just the plasma state, the GAN state, around this food, okay? So what you take a look at your health cup in any form, shape, or others, those are the seeds on the inside of the water, the plasma inside your cup. If it's on the outside, it's what we consume is on the inside. So be it a banana or be it the avocado, what's in the middle and that layer in between is what we're consuming. When you set up your health cup, your feeding cup, you're setting it up either that way or that way. They both work. Okay, I'll back out.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Wow.
Something to think about. Oh, yum yum. Right. Hey, Ron, you got anything to add here, Ron? Oh. Shall I unmute you?
Yeah, I unmuted myself.
Oh, good. Sorry.
Well, I not along the lines of GANs. I've finished producing one type that I was working on for quite a long time. But one of the things that I've done is continued work with crystals. And one of the things that I did recently was I took a hexagonal lapis lazuli crystal, and I wrapped a very small copper wire, 24 gauge wire, around it, and made it a net pendant. And the energy that I received from it seems to be quite different from anything that I've ever experienced before.
Did you use a test tube, Ron? What did you use to put it in?
No, I actually took a single-stranded 24 gauge copper wire around the lapis lazuli crystal. It's hexagonal. It's flat on on the bottom. And, it's got 6 points at the top.
Oh, interesting. Yes. Okay, that's cool.
And I'm wearing that on a copper chain, which I have some other things that.
Did you nano coat a part of?
I beg your pardon?
Did you nano coat a part of the wire?
No, it's completely unnanocoated. The only thing I did was after I got it, I just washed it in cool water and let it dry, and then I actually let it set for a few days before I had the thought to make a pendant out of it. Well, and I think one of the things that inspired me to do that was a video that was on YouTube by Higher Self, that one that she produced. I don't recall the source of the video now, but anyway, it was a relatively short video, about 3 minutes, and
You
it
give
had
me an idea right now, just to do a little test. I just put this wire around my neck, just a copper wire, and I got these here hanging around, so I could even like plug them on. So just continue. I just wanted to show you that I'm plugging this. Maybe I'll have something to say about it in a few minutes.
You never know.
You never know. So yes.
Yeah. Reaction. Have you got? I'm not sure what you've got in there besides the copper coils. Do you have a crystal in there?
Well, actually, in these, no, there's no crystal quartz. Sometimes they do put some. Like I could see that it's mostly CO2 and CuO. Yeah, this is a mix of both. So it's actually would be like a good combination to wear, like I'm wearing right now.
Stefan,
Yes.
you're reminding me of a Terminator movie.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, you may have a certain point there. I'm I'm going to be printing some circuit boards. I'm going nano. I'm going graphene, and I'm going GANs circuit boards.
Oh, you're amazing, Stefan.
So you're kind of onto something. And yesterday I watched this guy. He had printed himself a hand. He's missing a limb.
Mhm.
And my God, he's doing all sorts of things just with the print. It's quite incredible where we are.
You mean, did he manage to grow back his limb?
No. He just made a robot limb out of the 3D a printing machine,
Just-
and a functional one too. So
Just as an afterthought on that, you can find that that video. I uplinked it to my Facebook page, which is Ron Crystal.
All right.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So you can find that video there.
Oh yeah.
Put the link here on the chat, on the Zoom chat, so everyone can access it.
See, I moved this a bit here because I'm feeling like a big. It's a nice energy, but it's still intense energy right here. So, I mean, just by what I'm feeling, I would be like, somebody does this at home, don't do it for more than a few minutes, because it's very, very, very strong. Probably would heal some lung issues if you have the right combination on it. This is what's really fun about GANs and about making multiple layers. You can add any nanomaterial of fruit to your exterior coil to have the properties of that fruit projected out. Right now I have one that I'm doing with the raspberries, and I'm sure that it's going to be wonderful, because it not only has like an energy that projects it, but it also has a conscious feel of that fruit. It's difficult to explain, but it becomes a bit like fourth and fifth density in a certain way, because it becomes included in your conscious as a reality that's pleasant, like that fruit is in nature, So it has all this combination of trees and many aspects of it that comes also from the fourth, let's say, dimension, and manifesting it in our reality is easy from there, because it already is there.
Lovely. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that.
Thank you. Don't we? I mean, we love
So
it.
we see a little
No,
result of what this might inspire. Yeah.
Actually, you made a good point there, because it made me think of something that occurred. Actually, it's been quite a while back, but I had cut open an avocado, and I had eaten the contents, but instead of throwing the seed away, I saved the seed, and then I decided to plant it in just a plastic cup with some holes in the bottom and some planting material. I don't remember what they call that stuff. I'm not a big time gardener, but I had some out in the yard that wasn't being used. So I planted that actually along with a seed from a tangerine tree, and it was something that I guess you could say I became telepathic with the seed of the avocado, and it didn't seem to do anything, but the seed from the tree, the tangerine tree, it actually started to grow, and as it grew, I became more telepathic with it. And then I had, in another cup, I had just another tangerine seed from the same parent plant. And that one also started to grow. And I've been able to talk to those plants ever since. And now the avocado tree has grown to about it's about a foot tall, and I have them sitting on my kitchen table, and the two trees are almost up to the ceiling.
Well, you see, yes. I think that's what happened right now with me and the strawberry GANs over there.
Yeah.
The raspberry GANs is that it connected it to it, and then I just mentioned it. It came to my spirit for some reason or another. Now I put it on the back because I wanted to see the phrase. Yes.
Yes, you are now ready for the next step, guys. Congratulations. Congratulations. Last week I talked about my new GANs, which was GANs of firewood. It's a brown GANs. It came out exactly the way that I had thought it should, and in the consistency that it should.
Cool.
The application, we have been using GANs of water, seawater, for quite a while on the plants in the greenhouses and stuff, and with good results in the line of better taste, better flavor and stuff. When we decided it was time to do the GANs of wood, we realized that we wanted to move away from the ocean water and move into something that was available to those people that are away from the ocean for the source of that particular material. And the idea was to extract the GANs from the wood, from the strong tree, the big tree, to feed the little plants, to take from the large, to feed the small, which feeds the large. And that was the purpose of the wood GANs. And it produces a material that is ready to be used dilute on the smaller plants. We found this when we started taking apart plants that were growing together. We had sunflower plants in with the other tuberous, like radishes and things. And what we found was when the roots would come in contact with the smaller plants, the bigger trees wrapped themselves around the tubers of the radishes and the ground vegetables, but there was a gap between the two. Just like you see the gap on the seed of the avocado and on the banana and on the others. And what was happening was the tree, the big plant, was sucking nutrients up from deeper in the earth to the surface. The plants that were tuberous, like carrots and radishes and stuff, were storing their GANs in the ground in the proximity of the tree. Both plants were doing fine. So what we had was a situation where the large tree or the large sunflower seed plant was growing in a similar configuration as our magravs in these plasma relationships, one feeding the other and both doing well. So what we're talking about right here is a large force charging the small force, which can't hold it, releasing it back to the large force. But what had happened in the meantime is the universe has filled in the field for the large force. It says we can't have a vacuum. So it comes back in and fills the large force. So when the small force lets loose, we now have excess energy in that system to where we are using it above what we see on this plane. We're now seeing tree growth, we're seeing plant growth, we're seeing absorption of nutrients, a more balanced system. You know, monospecies farming really should be done away with, because we're showing through our GANs production and through our understanding of plasma fields that two have to be with each other, buddies, one inside the other. Okay?
Oh, right. Hey, Frank, there's a question for you from David. David, I unmute you. David Palfreeman. You asked Frank the question. You said, what about storage of GANs? Go on then, David. You there?
Hi there, Frank. Yeah, I was. You were making food GANs. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can.
When you're making food GANs, what about the shelf life, and how do you store it? Keep it make it last.
My experience on the food GANs is limited at this point. Basically, you have to wash it and wash it and wash it, and that gets rid of any matter state that is basically can be that can oxidize and go off. So you have a longer shelf life once you get it clean. When you first make the food GANs, it will have a kind of an off smell to it, and it'll have an off color. And the more that you wash it with your distilled water, the better it seems to get, and the more appealing it is. And I think it's actually more stable. Remember, there is multiple ways of making GANs. We started off using hot caustic on things, and then we found out how to do it that way. Then we did it by fire, and then we did it by electricity. And a lot of us now are moving to the next stage, which is hydrochloric acid or sulfuric acid, but hydrochloric more than the other, because that's the acidic way, which is what your body does inside your stomach. There is, so we have alkali GANs, we have acidic GANs, we have neutral GANs, we have metallic GANs or inorganic GANs, and we have organic GANs. Each one has its molecular properties and its plasma properties. Some of them are great senders, some of them are great receivers. Some are strong fields, some are weak fields. You know, some are strong givers, some are weak givers, but in the right combinations, you get the same effect. So that you could have in the middle of Africa with no metal available, you can have an organic GANs, you can have an organic MAGRAV system that works just the same as those of us in the West with our metallic systems, with our inorganic GANs, okay? It's a matter of learning all the different ways that GANs are put together and how you use them. As I said, when Douglas hit the airwaves last weekend, changes everything in how we do it. Now we have to be more methodical and understanding of each of the GANs that we make. Is it going to be a salty GANs? Is it going to be a sugary GANs? Is it going to be a neutral water GANs? There's all these different dynamics, and each one gives us fields and gives us different things that we can work with. Are we making gold? Are we making silver? Are we making a health pen? What is the intent? Why are you putting these things together? You know, it isn't willy-nilly anymore. We're no longer in Kansas. We are now just about ready to step into outer space.
Well said, Franz. Well said.
So that's great, Franz. There was one other question I'd quite like to ask is your CO2 water, you add that to your plants to improve their growth. How much, and can you overdo the feeding of the CO water?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. We're talking about minute quantities. In some of our wash water, we didn't get we mixed in a little bit too much of the salt water in with it. We caused some burning. It took some repair of those plants by a small amount of CO2 and a lot of water to wash out the excess. In the GANs of ocean water, one of the prime ingredients that's in there is selenium. And in nature, the selenium is brought back to the forest by the salmon that spawn and come up, and then they're eaten by the bears, and the bears poop it in the woods. And the selenium then goes through several ecological systems to get it back, dispersed throughout. When we use GANs of seawater, it's quite possible that we can overdo the amount of selenium that's going into it. It just needs a small amount. And so for the growth cycle, we find that we do it once in the growth portion of the growing of the plant, and then we do it one more time, a small amount, in the fruiting stage of that plant's life, twice only. The rest of the time you're adding water and organic materials to facilitate it. Okay?
That's great. Thank you, Franz.
Right. Thank you so much, Franz. We've got about, let's give ourselves some 10 to 15 minutes, okay, to go around the table, because I'm wrapping up the meeting now, and we are closing soon, because I reckon that meeting shouldn't be too long, because every one of us is busy. Right. I'm going to go around the table. Since you're there, Franz, I don't have to repin another person's video. Would you like to say anything that you think you want to say that is left unsaid now?
At this point, I've covered all the points that I needed to cover today, which is basically if you're going into the heavier GANSs, especially like if you're going into the gold making, your kilos of gold production is probably using more of the radiation materials, radioactive materials. That's why you're not going to be producing mass quantities of it on your shelf. You're just getting picoparticles from the sun and background radiation that you have. So we stay as individuals in our society away from radioactive material because we don't have the skill sets yet to handle it properly. In the near future, we'll probably be able to handle it using plasma fields and isolation. That goes for your leads and stuff. Yeah, if you can use other substances to make your magravs and make your electrical systems and make them safer, by all means do that. Use the gold, use the silvers, use the different plant materials. Dr. Kesh talks about actually making capacitors out of leaf material, and I've been kind of scratching my head trying to work out the how do you do it both ways? How do you do it organically, and how do you do it inorganically using metal? And that's the thought I'm going to leave you with today, is think about how to do it both ways, because you may end up on an island someplace that has no metal. And how would you get comfortable with a plasma system and feed yourself if you don't have any metal?
Right. Thank you, Chris. Chris, one last thing. I need to ask, okay, so what would you think would be food grade GANs? Is it just the three, CO2, CuO, CH3? No such thing as, I mean, you were saying that lead is dangerous, poisonous.
You're breaking up. Please react. Please reread the question, Crystal.
No, you were saying, okay, what would you classify as food GANs? Is it the three, CH3, CO2, CuO, period, and no other GANs? And would it be the first?
Your wood, if you're doing wood GANs.
Mm-hmm. Second ring, third rings.
When we're doing extraction of wood, and I'm having problems with your connection, it's breaking up, I'm going to explain wood GANs real quick. Wood GANs comes out in basically two or three different GANs.
Sorry, I'm not talking about wood GANs. I'm talking about food grade GANs. Food grade. Food grade. I'm talking about food grade.
Okay.
What would be
food
suggestions? Don't answer.
Basically, it's one and the same. It's how you make it. Your connection is breaking up very bad. Your food GANs and your wood GANs are both organic GANSs, and you can either do them by electricity in the case of the wood GANs in the salt water, or you can do it with a reduction using either acid or base. What you end up with in your GANs is probably a CO2, a CH3, basically in the sugar forms, and then your trace elements in whatever form they happen to be that go along with whatever that plant had absorbed in the food. Okay?
Thank you. Right, so let's go around the table. Thank you, Fraz. Thank you so much indeed. You clarified all those things. Right, so next we move to David Palfreman, our host today. David.
Yes, well, just one other thing that comes up about contamination of the GANs. What pots would you recommend? I mean, is stainless steel pots or ceramic pots better? Or storing the GANs? Plastic buckets? Glass?
Most of your GANSs can be stored in either plastic or in glass, which are fairly non-porous. We don't try to do it in stainless simply because it's another metal that is reactive even minimally. Ceramic ends up being, in most cases, a poor choice because it's so porous and it has other materials in it. So you can actually get cross-contamination from your ceramics depending on the grade in the firing, whether it's low temperature or high porcelain style ceramic. So yeah, storage is going to be an issue. I tend to like the plastics and the glasses to store GANs in.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone attending and giving the information that they have done. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Anyway, so we move to James now. James, if there's anything that you like to say, any unfinished business? James?
Yeah, other than that, I'm taking apart my Q24. Is that a dirty word here? Am I allowed to talk about that?
No, this is physics.
I didn't want it to burn up. So
Physics is always on neutral ground.
Yeah, so I taken apart because I didn't want I used this brown craft paper, and Kusal said it was okay, but I don't think so because some of them burned up. I think he's wrong. So I'm gonna go. I got some special parchment paper that's like oven safe, and I'm probably gonna nano coat it. I know that group that Kusal and Pepe do not recommend nano coating, but I don't want it to burn up. I spent all this time and energy, I do a good job at it.
Yeah, Rick, basically make certain that you have a little bit of sugar and a little bit of caustic on the inside of that, simply to attract water vapor into your capacitor, keep it down. Other than that, you're fine. Yeah, you're busy.
Yeah, it's 24. So anyway, yeah, so okay, so I was gonna use the caustic on this, and then I don't know, should I even put GANs too?
You can. Basically, it's a combination of different things. When you do the ash dip into the ash dip, that is a caustic. That's a cold water caustic dip, and you're bringing with it all the different ganses of the wood. So it's basically the organic meeting with the inorganic of the copper wire, and it works amazingly well. And as I say, it's a great forward of what we bring to the knowledge of plasma technology, what coastal guys have done in the Q systems.
Well, how do
we have to give them credit for what they've done.
Yeah, how do you make the cold GANs? Is that what you said? The cold or the cold?
When you use the fire ash.
Okay, fire ash. Yeah, I've got fire ash, and I also got some charcoal.
There's two ways. The ash method is the simplest and most readily available around the world. And the finer the ash, the better the finer the layers of the carbon in there. If Stefan is listening, the finer the carbon particles inside each of those capacitors, the better the storage is going to be, because it's a ratio between small carbon molecules and the larger chunks of it. The That's the easiest, is your ash dip, and it works really, really well. And you can add just a little bit of sugar in with it when you go to wrap it, and you're fine. A little bit of other caustic you can, but it's going to attract moisture and keep your capacitors wet. The other way of cold caustic is when you do your hot caustic, the liquid that's left over, especially if you're doing vegetable matter that you're steaming for your health pans, that can be sprayed onto your connections directly, and it'll nanocoat. That's how I nanocoated this last batch, was just to spray on the connectors that I had buggered up with the pliers. And these, get that in the camera, they transfer the nanocoating extremely fast in that loop, and that's nothing on them. It's just the ambient plasma that's running around in them. So cold caustic is just basically your Drano in the bottom of a ceramic pot and the lid on it with the heat on it, and just like you steamed your coils earlier, that's your hot caustic. The liquid that's left over is used as your cold nanocoating spray on your coils. So you do one, you got both solutions. Okay.
Fraz, I've got some capacitors which I know nanocoated, and they've been sat there about 2 months and they haven't turned black at all. Would you expect them to turn black when they've been coated in the ash? Hello?
I didn't catch any of that. My connection is seemingly really bad or something.
I've got some.
Can somebody repeat the question for him, please?
Right, I've got some capacitors which I nanocoated with ash and water about 2 months ago, and they haven't gone black at all. So would you expect them to go black, like when you do it caustic, or?
No. They will turn kind of a dull brown color, and over time, especially if they're hooked up to electricity, it'll turn shiny, and that's even without the oil coat on the outside of them. They're building up layer upon layer upon layer of nanocoating.
All right. So has Fraz answered your question, Vin? So your turn. Okay, you got your turn in going around the table, right?
The device that Fraz was holding up before with the 3 coils, I've seen a few pictures done on the internet the last few days. What is it?
My connection is really bad for some reason. What was the question?
The device, the 3 coils that you held up before, I've seen pictures of that on Facebook. Yeah. What is that for?
This is the first step in going to the solid state generators. This is being used right now with the liquid plasma configuration. As soon as we get that part figured out and the kinks worked out and the connections disappeared from them, we'll get a better for the solid state. Basically what we're talking about, all of this, is trying to reduce the amount of drag of the electrons in the system, the loss, the bleed off. And so this is just basically a very small version of your stacker, of your MagRav stacker. It's basically a MagRav coil, just a little short one. It's the same as your health pens. We're going tiny now. We've been big. I've built one of the largest MagRav units and it's sitting there waiting to become an industrial generator.
So it's to replace the MagRav, or the first design of the MagRav?
Yeah, this is for small. At this point, we're figuring that anywhere from 1 to 8 kilowatts per hour may be generated from these small units. If you want to do larger, then you're looking at your standard MagRavs for a house, and if you're going to go industrial, the ones that Crystal has posted of mine, which is that large 3-stacker, that is all number 12 gauge wire. That's one of the heaviest duty MagRavs on the system right now.
Are you talking about using them as cells?
As what?
Cells?
Basically, the idea is for larger, because of the amount of power that is used in the industry, you can't throw all that current through the matter state of these small MagRav systems. So they're looking at larger systems. No, we don't know. We haven't got one up and running yet anywhere
Right.
in the large.
I have to stop the question and answer session because it's well over. We've been around the table because I can't do lengthy recordings on my laptop. Okay. I'm sorry. I have to wrap up the meeting. All right then, folks. And Stefan, I think you've said all that you needed to say.
Yes.
And Sox, you want to say something before we wrap up the meeting? Sox,
I just want to thank everybody. I mean, this is just mind-boggling and candy for the head. And I hope to get much more involved in this because the science really fascinates me. And I was just listening last night, actually, to last week's meeting and talking with Jackie, and that's when I first started hearing about the GANs, and I'm just like going, oh my gosh, this stuff is like stellar. So I'm very, very interested in this and very happy to be a part of this group. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sock. Sorry, I had to mute myself because there's a lot of activities around here. Very loud. Right. Thank you, Sock. It's really lovely having you here. Next, last but not least, we have two people, Ron and Keith. Right. Just give me a moment. Let me just mute. Okay, sorry, now we don't have any noise now. So can I have, Ron, did you want to say anything before we close the meeting?
I just made a point on the chat there about last night's plasma reactor group discussion about not using biodegradable plastic to store your GANs in because it will create a reaction that you don't want. And it's due to the starch that's used in that type of plastic, which will eventually break it down. And so you could look up, if you want to see the discussion on that, you could look it up. I don't know if Rick has got it posted yet, but he probably will have it today if it's not already up.
Right.
Other than that, just happy I remembered to get in here. I was a little bit late today, but that happens.
Oh, thank you, Ron, for making it anyway. Doesn't matter. You don't miss much in the beginning. Right, so we have, last but not least, hey, Keith, do you want to say a couple of words before we...
Well, thank you all. It's been a very interesting discussion this evening, and I've certainly learned a lot. And I feel also very privileged to learn about GANs and what everyone's doing. It's quite amazing. Thank you very much, Crystal. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for availing yourself and making yourself comfortable here in this group. Thank you so much, everyone. And I truly am so honored and delighted to be, chairing this meeting because you are such wonderful, pure hearts. You truly want to do what you need to do for advancing humanity's progress in the ascension process. Thank you so much, brothers and sisters. And the meeting is, there being no other business, the meeting is now adjourned to the, sorry, what's the date that I said that we're going to have? To the, let me have a look. Okay, the next meeting will be just to make sure that everyone, on the 7th of September, that's it, okay? The 7th of September, we come back again. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Crystal.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.